Welcome to This Week in No Code. I'm your host, JJ Englert, here with my co-host, David Pal. David, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great this week. I guess it's Thursday now, but it's hard to believe it's already March.
Time is flying. I'm back from
Yeah,
California, starting a new job, which we'll
new
discuss a
job.
lot later in this episode. But before we get into that, let's break it down for the news of this week, David.
All right, this week we're starting our news segment in the courtroom. OpenAI getting hammered by both sides, both Elon Musk and the SEC going after OpenAI. Elon Musk, there's been a bit of tension between their Elon and OpenAI for some time. The lore of Elon being an early founder, wanting it to compete against Google. We talked about this with Nicola. Um, his idea of kind of a counterweight to Google. He left. Now OpenAI is making boatloads of money, and he wants control. If you've seen anything from how he runs his other companies, he loves control. He loves drama, and he has filed suit against OpenAI. He's talking about breach of contract, fiduciary duty, some unfair business practices. We'll see where that goes. I This seems like a personal problem that has huge implications.
Yeah.
I don't know where people stand on OpenAI should be more open, should it be more closed. I think they're pulling AI in the right direction and allowing for people to get their hands dirty. Yeah, sure, there's going to be open source. I think open source will win in the long run, but for now, I think OpenAI building great solutions is fantastic. So it's
Yeah.
hard to see that.
I don't know the full story here, but Elon was like one of the biggest supporters and made a huge investment in OpenAI early on, right?
Well, this is what the emails are coming out. They released a bunch of private emails. Apparently, he had promised basically everything up to $1 billion they couldn't raise, but he had only given like $45 million. And when they asked for the rest, he said, "Well, I want control of the board." And so he held that early from the early days of kind of wanting more control when Reid Hoffman stepped in and filled the gap to help pay for some
Mm,
bills. So I
interesting.
don't know how much he actually contributed, but
Yeah. Well, then also, like, I mean, he still invested $45 million,
he
but did
donated.
he?
It was a
No,
nonprofit.
exactly. That's the problem. He donated, when they were a nonprofit, and now all of a sudden they're a profit making huge amounts of money, and what, he didn't get any kind of return on that, or like if we just donated,
Yeah, I mean, it's
I would
probably
be pissed.
donated. On one hand, it's like it was a donation when you gave it,
Yeah,
so it's a donation. It's gone. You donated it to the nonprofit
but
side.
yeah, but like you donate to a nonprofit, and then 2 years later, they're like, "Oh, we're for profit now," and we're not crediting that donation towards shares. You would be really angry. I would.
Yeah, I mean, if eventually they needed to raise funding on a for-profit side, which I think they needed, right? They definitely
Yeah,
needed lots of money,
yeah,
and he didn't get to participate in that side. I do think that is a little shady.
yeah,
Um, but I think that was kind of like part of the plan. So I don't know. This seems
yeah.
like it's just going to be drama for the next year and a half, maybe more.
Well, yeah, I mean, OpenAI AI has caught the eye of regulators as well, with the SEC also launching an investigation into them. I think generally when the whole world is witnessing a board collapse within days, and then a CEO is ousted and brought back in of AI companies that have the power to potentially build AGI and hundreds of millions of dollars, all this kind of stuff, like, and they were in the spotlight, there's going to be an investigation. Like, normally boards don't move that fast, and when they're all ousted and all this kind of stuff. And so you got to imagine that when this was all happening, they kind of knew that they would be in the spotlight for this, and like you would like to think that they did everything by protocol, but who knows? I guess the SEC is going to find out.
Yeah, I think this is kind of partially standard process, but you can imagine, right? Like when that was happening, people were joking about like, well, all these people who took jobs at OpenAI and have all this equity just went up in smoke. Like it's not
Right.
gone now, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not worth it, without Sam there running it and with chaos. And so I'm sure a lot of investors were thinking the same thing, like billions of dollars worth of value kind of controlled by this weird voting fiasco.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's not a good look. But I think everyone like tries to pull down the leader, right? Like everyone, these people doing high flying growth, like billions of dollars overnight. Well, not overnight, but seemingly public view overnight.
Hmm.
They want answers.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next topic of the day. Perplexity AI launches its own podcast. And the important part about this podcast is it offers daily explorations in the realms of technology, science, and culture, but it's 100% AI generated. So there are no humans in this podcast. They grab the news each day, they throw it into some kind of transcription service, and they serve it to you in an automated format for the first time. I don't know what the point of view is. I don't know if it's like a neutral point of view. I don't know how they prompted this to kind of create that point of view, but it's the first of what I think many situations are where we're seeing fully AI generated content. We've seen it in the news, we've seen Sports Illustrated, we've seen these other things. Now it's in the podcasting game with Perplexity. Um, and it's really interesting if you take a chance to listen to it. That it's well produced, they got some music, the voice sounds fine. It sounds almost like a neutral source of like a BBC, just tuning in real quickly to grab the news and to move on in a transactional way, and maybe that's sufficient.
Yeah, we saw the news channel, right? With the avatars, everything was produced, the graphics, like there was a human behind the scenes, but it was like all AI put together. I think it's interesting. I think it's a cool pitch. Like this
Hmm.
is a marketing gimmick for Perplexity. I think
Yeah.
um, it's I think there are ways, lots of podcasts of people discussing news, just like this one. There are lots of ways to read news and have news read to you, right?
Hmm.
Using audiobooks and audio notes and all of these things.
Yeah.
They're just taking the stance of, hey, we're a search engine. We can surface things that matter. So there's going to be lots of facts that they're talking about. Um, but I don't know that they're adding any color to it. They're not giving you any piece of information, right? Like you think about the news, world news is only relevant in the context of world history, right?
Hmm.
Like you can't really grasp what's going on in the world unless you understand the history of it. And so I don't know that they're going that far. They probably could, right? They have the history texts, they have
Yeah.
Wikipedia looking back on the history, they have like, all this information to really add a lot of information. But I think this is where it's going to need to improve, and people will have to be involved to push it and nudge it in the right direction.
Yeah.
um, but it's cool. We were talking about this is a cool tool to use for like internal stuff,
Right.
right? Not just news, but like in a company, hey, here's my I don't need my secretary to read my emails for me while I'm on the treadmill. I can get my first morning, here are the 7 emails you got this morning, what do you want me to do about it? Right? It's like
That's a thinker.
it's
That's
a
a
thinker,
thinker.
right? What was that?
Let-
I was listening to My First Million, and they were talking about Ari Emanuel and how he's like notorious for just 10-second phone calls or like 90-second phone calls. And this is kind of that. It's like just hop on the phone, get the information, move on, right?
yeah.
And you're just doing it all in voice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, more cool companies. The latest YC companies coming out with their string of no code AI tools. David, tell us about that because some of these are really amazing tools.
Yeah. So obviously, the last couple batches of YC uh, has lots of AI involved, right?
Yeah.
Not everything I think it's good. Not everything is just an AI company. And lots of companies are doing other things that use AI but don't sell AI tools.
Yeah.
So
And a lot
what
of
we're
no
seeing,
code companies in there too of text to prompt or whatever like that.
yeah, no code. I think this is where we need to start differentiating no code from
Text.
text and WYSIWYG, right? Like, and visual development, right?
Yeah.
So it's like kind of different. You can't really group them together, but we're seeing people bring this no code concept into other industries as well, which is pretty interesting. This company, Tamarind Bio, is actually building what they call a no code platform for life scientists, which is combining AI and no code tools to build a computational engine for drug discovery. Really interesting idea. We've seen AI. There are lots of novel AI models that are. This is actually, I think it won a lot of awards. I forget what it was called. The Google Protein Fold uh, model. Basically, it could predict based on a string. Yeah, AlphaFold, based on a string of base pairs. It could build the 3D molecule, which is really important in like enzyme creation and molecules
Wow.
that get created in drug delivery. And so, combining all of these things with all of the pharmacokinetics that go into drug discovery, all of this into a no code platform, this is like probably one of the most complicated no code systems I've ever come across. But really pretty cool use of all these different technologies and frameworks.
Yeah. Agent Hub, it's another YC company that just launched. It's a no-code platform that allows users to automate even the most niche or complex workflows. It's a lot like BuildShip, if you ask me. And I
Mhm.
think BuildShip is a little bit further along, but validating that space even more, that there's a need for more complex workflows in a drag and drop way. Also, I think it's pronounced SOM, SOMN, SOM. It's uses AI to serve as like receptionist for like if you
Maybe
need to
summon.
summon. It's like
I don't know.
very similar to SimFlow, where you can create an agent, have it receive and make calls on your behalf. Again, validating this early startup that was built with no code and some other tools. I saw the other day they're up to like 37,000 MRR on that tool, SimFlow, and they're growing nicely. And so I think we're seeing needs for companies that if you can develop a prompt or a bot to receive calls for you, schedule appointments, to make calls for you. You get the logs, you get the transcriptions, and then based on the results of those calls, you can have automations go from there. You can sync it into Zapier and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of things that you can automate in a good way. I think about like user interviews being one of them. If you wanted to automate, like, hey,
Yeah,
someone just
that's
made a
something that's
purchase.
come up. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you just want to call them, it's just ask them how their purchase was, log it, all that kind of stuff. Uh, you know, Real estate scheduling or touring. Like if you want to have, schedule an appointment for this real estate listing, you have it on there. They call, they schedule an appointment, the appointment with the bot. It's all good. So there's a lot of things that you can do to using this technology that's really awesome.
Yeah, it is definitely really cool. I'm curious. I don't think the technology replaces a human completely yet. Like I can still tell that it's a bot. Right. So in this example of like user interviews, I'm thinking I'd answer differently than
Yeah,
if I was.
it's getting really close. It really
I mean,
is.
it works. Like
Yeah,
if I want to leave a voicemail, great. Yeah, this is absolutely what I should do. Right. I'm just sending them a message.
yeah.
But that also kind of happens already. Um, yeah, I
It,
mean,
it's
it's
pretty.
going to be
It's
really
pretty good. I mean, there is a slight millisecond delay, but it's getting really good.
yeah. I mean, it is getting better, but I still think like right now this is only voice. If it were voice and video, it would be even weirder, right? Like, can you imagine trying to hire somebody without actually ever talking to them before? Like, what happens when the person being hired also has an AI agent who's sitting on the call, and both are just talking to each other, but nobody knows that it's AI on both sides, right? They're just recording the text answers, right? Like I can apply to 10,000 jobs that are hiring with AI with my own AI,
Yeah,
and then do the job. I'd have 10,000 jobs at once. This is fantastic.
this is true. It's my agent versus your agent. Who's going to win? But it's really meant not for negotiated stuff. It's meant for just some simple tasks like Hey, I got a schedule. I got a schedule. Great. Let's not notify our owners until we match. We've matched. You're booked. Let's move on. Like simple
Yeah.
things like that. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it's like everything else. It's always it's not the 90% of calls that are easy that we want the AI to handle. It's the 10% that are really hard, which having a solution for that is still a tough
Did you
piece.
see that study recently? I forgot the name of the company, but they essentially conducted like 2 million minutes worth of calls using
Hmm.
their AI bot. And
Klarna.
yeah, and what the results essentially found that this one bot replaced what would have taken 700 jobs
Yeah.
or customer service representatives to fulfill, and that it was actually receiving higher scores than the customer service reps were of like time to resolution, time. So, and it's early. Eh,
Yeah. I think what's interesting about that is the kind of, I wouldn't say contrarian take, but the alternative take to that is not that it's just taking people's jobs. It just tells you that the answer was somewhere in a document that a fifth grader could have answered. And
yeah,
like the customer didn't care enough to go look. They just
of
asked
course.
the bot.
Yeah,
Yeah, they get the answer, but they
yeah,
should have just looked for the answer, right?
yeah,
Or they
but
should have like the
yeah,
system
but
should have had a
people are
better
lazy. They want to
search.
know right away, and so that's satisfying this need, and that's sufficient.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's again, it's the last edge that matters, right? The last little
Sure,
bit. So we'll
sure.
see. I don't know. And
Let's
then yeah, let's
yeah,
move on to the last story of the day.
yeah. Actually, I'm gonna hijack the last story of the day and tell you about my
Oh,
Apple Pro Vision experience.
all right, all right.
So
Let's do that.
I'm a nerd. Like this is the stuff that I like has gotten me so excited over the years of technology, right? I've always loved technology at a very young age. Like when Palm Pilots came out, it's like I gotta have it. Like when the Apple phone came out with iTunes on it, I got it, right? And then I
Hmm.
got the iPhone 3G. Like I've always been first adapter in that way. And so I tried the Apple Pro Vision at the Apple Store, and the person right away was just like, "Hey, you gonna buy it?" I was like, "No, I don't think it's ready yet, but I gotta try it, right?
I'm
I
here,
gotta."
but I'm only here for the demo.
Yes, yes, I gotta try it. And so I put it on. They take your size, they come out, they put it on. They do a fantastic job with presentation. Put it on. It's quite heavy. It really is, and it had a lot of pressure on my nose right here, kind of sitting. I could tighten the band, but like it only did so much. One of the person that was doing my demo had one, and he's like, I use the other band with like the strap over the head, and that reduces a lot of the weight. And with that, I can wear my headset for like 2 hours, but without it, I can wear it for like 30 minutes. And so, like, right away, it's just like, shoot, like, I'm going to buy a $3,500 thing that I can only wear for up to two hours. But story goes on. Put it on. And when you throw like applications to the side, like the actual positioning, the anchor point of that spatial awareness is tremendous. Like, you don't notice anything like that. You put it right there, it's always going to be right there. And when
You
you look
mean you're
around,
looking
like,
you're looking at like you have a desktop screen and you're like, oh, move this over
yeah,
here
yeah,
to somewhere on the
exactly.
right, somewhere up here. You
Right.
turn your head and that's where it is.
And it's anchored very well. Like sometimes it's like janky, it's moving a little bit. Like this is a very good anchor. And also you can make that screen like really big. Like in the demos you feel like it's big, but like you can make it really big and the resolution really holds up very well. Like I pulled up a website on it, brought it to a huge thing, and like the resolution was top notch. It looked like a real monitor in that way. So I really enjoyed that. The keyboard interface, like I couldn't even use it. Like it was really hard to use the keyboard. Like typing in a virtual way just didn't work for me. Maybe I didn't get it
Yeah.
right. I ended up just using my eyes to type, and
What?
using
What is
your
that? Is that
eyes.
like swipe?
So your eyes are essentially your mouse. So wherever you look, that's your
Interesting.
mouse, and then you just do this to click, and it is incredibly
Oh,
accurate. So
but
like
that's
wherever
really hard to type on.
it's well, yeah, that's hard to type on, but also like you're like moving your eyes like a lot, and it's like a new thing for you to like move your eyes all around the real estate like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
usually like when you look at a screen, you can kind of look in one direction and see everything. Like you're
yeah,
just moving so slightly to see the
well
whole
you
keyboard.
can, but those small eye movements they recognize, and it allows you to just click right into it. So that
Sure.
was quite impressive.
I'm surprised
Um,
they don't have like a swipe feature. You know how on the
they
phone
they
you can
do
like
they can kind of like swipe like that.
No, no, no.
It'll
I mean
feel
like with
decent.
your eyes to type.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they have that yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
so
hunting and pecking with your eyes.
yeah. So they showed me a couple different things. The first thing was photos. Photos like panoramas were just unbelievable. Like 180
Yeah.
degree panorama shot on iPhone, incredible resolution. It looked awesome. And then the next thing that really blew me away was the videos taken with the iPhone 15 Pro, where it's like the spatial awareness. And so, like, they showed a video of like a kid's birthday party, like your kid's birthday party. And it really felt like you were living in the moment, like
Hmm.
tearjerker kind of thing, like relive these moments, almost like it's worth it for that. Like, if I wanted to have moments of like my grandma, my grandpa, my dad, and all this kind of stuff and really preserve it and then go back and relive that, it feels like we're kind of getting there and we'll soon be there. And it really feels real and it's very, very good.
Huh.
So I love that part of it.
Yeah. What happens when if you take it off and put it back on? Is everything still where you left it?
I don't know. I didn't try that. I took it off and then I never put it back on. So I don't know that
How
one.
long were you in the headset?
It was a 15-minute demo. And
Yeah.
by the end of it, I felt a little fatigued, quite frankly. Like I felt a little pressure here. My neck was just like there was weight on it for a significant amount
Yeah,
of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Huh.
One last thing before I get out of here. I think the theater mode, we watched Avatar in 3D. First off, it was actual
Avatar
3D.
is like the quintessential movie demo.
Yeah.
It's
It's because it's the latest technology in 3D that just came out, but you put it in movie mode and then you could choose where you want to sit in the theater. So like front row, middle
that's
seat, back seat, where it's really cool.
who puts
And
front row?
I sat front row and it just makes it really big.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was honestly on par with going to IMAX. Like it was
Huh.
incredible. Even the sound without any kind of plugs in was really, really good. You felt like it was a surround sound. And it is a no brainer that that is going to replace movie theaters soon in the next 5 to 10 years. I feel like in many ways, it's nuts.
Interesting. Yeah, it would be kind of cool to like be able to build. This is going to sound crazy, but the future of movie theaters are in a mall, right? It's just a retail space. Hey, you want to go see
Interesting.
a movie? And you just show
Interesting.
up and sit
And
in
put your
one of the
goggles on.
chairs, and you don't need to go to the big, huge movie theater.
Yeah, 100%.
You just have
That's a really good
15
idea.
chairs.
That's where we're going, David. I mean, like my friend just bought a $50,000 home theater room and it's incredible. Like I loved it. And then I
Yeah,
put this headset on and felt the same experience, if not better. And it was
yeah,
just like, but the thing is you need to buy more headsets for your family. Like I
yeah.
wouldn't just sit there and watch a movie by myself. I want to sit with my wife and enjoy it
Right.
with her. And you can't
Yeah,
like snuggle anything. Like you got these big masks on and
yeah,
then
yeah.
it doesn't even
You're
fit
like
your kids.
bonking heads.
Yeah, and breaking it, and it doesn't fit your kids, so your kids can't do it, and so it's just not there yet. Like it is a concept car, and it is really really cool,
Yeah,
and it is like a prototype that you could just pay to experience, but like it's just not there yet. It's just too heavy and too costly to like really be practical.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what everyone's saying, and I think they have to put it out in the world to get real feedback
Right, and probably it's just
and
funding some of the
start.
research, just to
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, and learning how to make it right. Like
Yeah,
so many of these things, they had to just put production systems in place, and getting out of the lab and into like full supply chain is
yeah.
definitely something to
No
be.
doubt it's an incredible feat. It's probably the most impressive technology I've used in many years,
Yeah,
hardware at least. Hardware, it's like the most impressive thing I've used in a very,
yeah,
very long time. Software, it's been AI and stuff. But even just environmental mode, like when you just want to go environmental and just be like nowhere, and then like people slowly come up to you and you can kind of see them coming fade for like safety reasons. Like it's just so well done. Hats off to them, but yeah, I can't buy that until it gets more realistic. I want to be able to wear it for 8 to 10 hours, and I want to be able to have like a handful of it for like my family and everyone to like all experience it, kind of thing.
What would like what would you do for 8 to 10 hours in this headset?
Oh, I want to use it like a workstation, like a full monitor. Like I want to sit at my desk with it. Well,
But
sit
you're
at a
at your
table
desk.
with a keyboard
Why?
and a mouse,
Like,
and
why
just
would you want to? it's interesting because it's kind of like, we talk about remote work being the future of
Yeah.
everything, right? Hey, I can just go take my laptop. And I did this in New Zealand. I'll take my laptop and like we took a call and I was like sitting in a truck on a riverbed, right? Tethered to my phone, right?
Yep.
It was dope. It was awesome. But normally when I'm in those places, I don't want to be working,
Yeah.
right? Like I just
Sure.
want to be there.
Yeah.
And so like I wouldn't ever want to bring the Vision Pro on vacation.
Oh, I definitely. That's what you do it. So it's like on the plane, you got premium
Okay,
stuff.
maybe on
If
the
you ever,
plane.
yeah, but
But
if you
then
ever just
then
need your workstation, your workstation is like the size of this headset. You throw it on, you got everything. So like, I think there's
but at
huge
home it's not
utility.
so helpful. Like at home, it's like I'm home. I have my workstation. I
Yeah,
don't
but
need
then you got to have a whole room dedicated to like monitors and everything. This you just like literally go into any room. As long as you have a table, you're good, and you have an incredible workstation. So
it's only helpful if you don't have a room. Like, well, I wouldn't want to like. There are so many caveats for why it's not great.
I
Like, but
guess
could you
to
imagine?
each his
No,
own.
just think. You're in your office. If you
Yeah,
were like, oh well, I don't need an office anymore. This is now the kids' playroom, and
yeah,
you came down to sit and do work. Okay, well, the kids are here. Like the kids are
yeah.
playing. People are walking through the space. It's
You
like
still need a
you
quiet
still need
room.
that
Yeah,
space.
yeah. I don't know. If I had that real estate and I could just put it on, and just go away into another land to do all that work fully focused, I would be into it. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems hard. I don't know.
yeah,
It seems like the work seems obvious, but I would be more interested in how it interacts with the space to make it more AR than VR. Like I
sure.
think that's cool. I don't know how that
Yeah,
actually works in their
yeah.
world,
That
but that would
the
be
AR is fantastic. Yeah.
yeah,
Um. All right. So
yeah.
let's move on to the discussion of the
All right.
day. Why don't we get
All
there?
right. Discussion of the day involves W2. W2JJ. We're gonna go. That's what we're calling you now. No, just kidding.
W2
JJ, you have a new
JJ.
job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Software
Thank
is
you.
lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So, how was it? You had it for a couple days now.
Yeah, so I have joined Softr as their community and education lead. This process started like 8 weeks ago, like 3 months ago, kind of thing. Of just like, I approached you in the studio. I was just like, listen, I love what we're doing here, but I want to make a bigger impact, and mostly on this industry. Like, I've taught 1,000 people, but I want to teach 1,000,000 people, right? And I want to like build a product that is being used by hundreds of thousands of people, kind of thing. Like I want to be there. And so I loved working with you and our other partners at the agency. I love building my education stuff, but at the end of the day, it was just like, I'm really like feeling this urge to go out and make an impact. And so I reached out to all my favorite no code platforms, and the ones that I think could have been winners, really, like in where I think I could have seen myself in. And I was just like, hey, listen, I'm looking for this type of role. I want community and education, right? I love
Mhm.
education. I love all about, helping others, making these videos, um, you know, all that kind of stuff. I really love that. And then also the community side. I wanted to like, I feel like those two go hand in hand, community and education. And the way that I do community is by helping them, by educating them, by getting them to the next step. And then by putting on educational events like build alongs and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, it's a lot of what I've done for the last 4 years with all my bubble work of just generally building my own community, my Slack group, building my own education. But now I'm just getting paid for it. Now it's my full time job. And I can, like my job is to get on a call with you and see how I can help you and like build this community event and like all this kind of stuff. And like, that's really cool. Uh, and so I started 2 days ago. Oh, well, actually, so I haven't told anyone this yet, but I ended up getting 3 offers from 2 different no-code platforms and then
3
software,
offers. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I interviewed with a lot of companies. A lot of companies already had spots in those positions or they weren't ready to make a position for me, but I ended up getting 3 offers from 3 different companies, all which were kind of different. And I ended up choosing Softr because I wanted to make that impact. And I know that Softr, they're more approachable. They're more, what is it, mainstream. They're more accessible. That's what I'm looking for. They're more accessible because it's so much easier to use than some of these other tools. And some of the other tools I was looking at were incredible teams, incredible tools, really believe in them, and their founders and all that kind of stuff. But it was serving a more niche market, an enterprise market, something that I didn't actually want to go down. Like, I want to go mainstream. I want to go to the masses. I want to be accessible. I want to help this whole next generation of professionals make technology better. And these are non-builders, never have built anything. They don't want to be professional developers. They don't want to learn a tool for 6 to 12 months. They just have a problem they want to solve. And I just
Mhm.
felt that Softr is doing that better than anybody. And they already have 400,000 users. They're growing at an exceptional rate. They're 50 people plus, which is my first opportunity to be like a part of like a really big company, which I haven't been a part of yet. I've been a part of
Which
like
isn't, I
10.
mean, 50 isn't even that big.
It's not even that big, but like I've been a part of like 5, 10, 20, 30 was the biggest company. But like at that point, I was really just on the engineering team and I really only interacted with them, you know? So like now being at a 55-person company and I work with all the departments. I'm in the product and engineering chats because they're releasing new things. I need to know what it is so I can go teach it. I'm in the marketing chats because we have our marketing strategies, how we're, communicating to the public. I need to know how to, approach things.
Mhm.
We have our customer service chats. People are having problems. I need to know like how that is, and so I can put them. So I'm everywhere, which is also awesome because I can just like see how this org is running, and it's a well-oiled machine. Like it is really
Yeah, they've been
nice.
around for a while. I'd hope so.
2021, not that long. Like in the grand scheme of things, Bubble's 10 years. Like this is 4 years old going on. I already have
Mhm.
400,000 users. But yeah, it's been great. So I picked Softr, really happy about that. 2 days in, still drinking from the fire hose. Everything I'm saying here is just from me. Like on this podcast, I'm not the company representative. I'm just me with my own opinions. But it's just been so cool to see this side of a no-code platform, right? Like I've
Yeah.
always been, helping with product feedback, submitting things and all that kind of stuff, but like actually have never had a stakeholder value. Where I can like my opinions really go on to like really shape things, and that's been really cool. Seeing all of our our MRR, our statistics, all of the our onboarding charts, our activation, graphs, analytics, all that kind of stuff, and then reading all the strategies. Our roadmap that we have coming up is actually a lot more powerful and expansive than I was thinking even before I joined. So it's been really cool so far being on this side of things.
So now in this new role, like everyone has a job to do. What is, obviously the job is to build community and educate. Those are kind of amorphous little things. They're hard to measure. So what's your goal for the end of the year? What have you been tasked with doing?
Yeah. We haven't even gotten the goals yet or like actual metrics of like, hey, here's what I can do and here's what I can achieve. You're right though, it's really hard to track. I know that on the education side, I'm going to take over the academy. I'm going to be the one making all the videos, the lessons we put on YouTube, and kind of control that content creation, in the sense of how we optimizing it, what channels we going at, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to build up our certifications or build a certification program and get people certified in software and different tiers. I'm going to build up their experts program. So once the certifications go, people get certified. We put together the experts program, which will then feed into an agency program. Similar to what you see with Bubble now, certifications, agencies, RFPs. Build more of that out. And that's just on the education side. And then the community side, I'm going to be the face of the company in the sense of at all the community events, hosting build alongs, hosting partnerships with all the other tools. We have a ton of new data sources coming up. Like we just launched HubSpot. And so we're working with
Mhm.
HubSpot to make it really easy to take your HubSpot data, throw an interface on it, and to interact with it more, in a fully kind of flexible way. And so we're working with HubSpot, like people like that, to host these events. We just did Smart Suite. We have some bigger, more well-known database and data sources coming up soon. Pretty much kind of every kind of data source, like each category you think of, we're going to be there, as we just want to be the really simple front end that allows you to take whatever data you have, wherever you have it, bring it to life and interact with it. And then hopefully they'll fly me to conferences and I can, represent at conferences all over the world. Like that's also low key a dream of mine, like to travel and to be a part of the no code scene and to represent, our companies. So I'm really hoping that I get to do that, fly to these conferences, represent, talk about no code at large. So it's like when I was thinking about like where I want to go in my future, my short term, my long term, right? It's like I love building. I don't ever want to stop building. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to be like an enterprise engineer, running teams at this level. It's I like the community side. I like the education side. Like I like so much more than just building. And so this kind of role allows me to build in all my educational videos and to build for like all the use cases, but then to teach it to others and to share it with others. And it's so it kind of combines all of my passions into one, while also allowing me to like have a massive impact to send out this video that I made to 400,000 people and growing. So yeah,
So what does this
it's
mean
really
for
good.
everything you've done, bubble community? You know,
Yeah.
your Twitter handle is Bubble and AI expert, no code and AI.
No
Like
code in a expert.
no code and AI. That's
Yeah.
why you can do Bubble.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the top 1% bubbler kind of thing, like Bubble
Yeah.
JJ's Bubble Group. Like what does it mean for all that?
Yeah, it's a good
Like the
question.
alliance.
Um, y- Listen, I mean, what I've done the last 4 years with Bubble, you can't ignore it. The friends that I've made, I only hope to continue growing those friendships and those relationships. Bubble, I'm still going to build with it. Like, it's still a great tool for, specific purposes. And I still have a lot of fun with it. So I'll still, be around those groups. I'll still help when I can. And I'll still just explore no code in general, but I think just during the day, my main thing is software. That's my main job. That's my main mover. My education will still be available. All my educational courses will still be available. I'll still, service those as I have been for many years now, even with full time jobs, all that kind of stuff. So all of that's coming available. I probably won't make any more bubble courses though. I think that will be the end of my bubble courses. If I make a new course, I think it's going to be more no code general. Of course, softer courses as well. But like if I do anything personally, it's probably just be no code generally, helping entrepreneurs, helping businesses build with all different kinds of things. Um, the bubble group, the bubble Slack group, yeah, that one. It's almost on autopilot anyways. Maybe I will look to designate a new leader to take that over. Maybe I'll convert that into a no code at large group. I'm not sure the best way to do that yet. I'm just kind of taking it one step at a
Mhm.
time. But I think the general undertone here is like, yes, I'm Team Softer, and that's what I'm doing during the day, and that's where I'm putting nearly all of my efforts. But at the same time, I'm still just a no code enthusiast, still trying out as many tools as I can. I still love building with Bubble and these other tools, and I still want to support all these people in that way. And also, if they want to come and learn softer and build stuff there too, like I'm ready to support them too. But
I'm
if
sure
not, it's
there's
all
definitely
good.
a little hope that some people will be converted to softer fans
Yeah,
that don't know
like a
softer
lot of people are
curious.
just like, "Oh, you joined Software, so that means it must be just as good as Bubble." And it's like that's not the case. They're two different things. Like we don't even see Bubble as a competitor. It's just a whole different beast. It's servicing that MVP entrepreneur user persona where we don't even. I mean, we appreciate them, but our focus is on small businesses and helping small businesses and maybe small enterprises succeed with internal tooling and whatnot. And that's kind of where all of our focus is. And so, um, and it's just different. Like Bubble, you could just literally build anything, but it takes you a while to do that. Not a while, but comparatively, it takes you a while, and it takes you a while to learn. Like 3 to 6 months to learn. Where literally
Yeah,
in with software, it's like 3 to 6 hours. You're building your first app by the end of your first day if you know something. If not, maybe by the end of the first week or two. And because of such, there's not as much flexibility. There's not as much customization. Whereas Bubble, you can literally place anything anywhere. With software, there's a lot more guardrails in place. But with
mhm,
those guardrails, it helps you with building an app for the first time. It helps you with good looking design. It helps you with just not reinventing the wheel every time you need to have a listing group. It's just here's your listing. You
here's
want a
the list.
different format? Here's your different format. If you want different spacing, you can still do all of that stuff, but like you don't actually draw every pixel every single time. It's just we have 50 different blocks, use whatever one makes sense, and then customize it from there.
Yeah, interesting. I think
Yeah.
it definitely is a different product.
It's a different product.
It's hard, like, when we think about agency work, we start with the design phase. Like
Yeah.
that's mostly gone, right? Like
I'd
there
say
is,
so. Yeah.
there's here are the things you need it to do. Here's how you do it. This is a
Yeah.
really good way to build an internal tool where it's just internal. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. I think some companies probably might, right? Like, and
Yeah.
they're probably thinking about engineering teams, but if they don't have the budget for it, right? Like beggars can't be choosers. You need this
Yeah.
tool. Here's what you got, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to spend 50 grand to build it.
Or you don't want to have an employee take 3 months to learn Bubble. It's just like, hey, take a week, learn it and build it, and you're up and running. And then if more people need to do it, there's that. Like, Software's site is built with Software, and Software ranks number one for SEO for like a ton of keywords. They have absolutely crushed the SEO game. It generates hundreds of thousands of traffic each month, and it's all based on Software and the blog, everything. And I'm not saying like we're not meant for you know, blogs like Webflow is more maybe meant for like that CMS at scale. But still, I mean, you put together this blog in the CMS system that is ranking number one and generating hundreds of thousands of traffic. So it's still
Hmm.
working, right? It's not
Yeah,
meant for that sole reason, but you can still do it. And so you could build a lot with it, internal tools or external tools. You can customize quite a lot more than you probably initially think. But your point, you don't just start from like a fresh design. I think if we were to approach it from the agency standpoint, it'd be like, okay, what pages do you need? And on the pages, what functionality and what kind of a list block do you want? And then what are your colors? What are your themes? And what are the actions that you need? And then from there, it's probably like, okay, now we'll just go off and build it. We got enough information and enough blocks to put in order.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think there is a world for like, hey, you have a problem. I'm going to build you a solution this week. I don't. You don't need to go with all the back and forth. You don't need someone with a product mind that knows some no code can just put it together and
Yeah.
say, hey, look, it accomplishes this task, right? You need it to do.
Even that,
Um,
David, it's almost like it could replace our scoping week of just like, we're just going to build this for you in Software week. And you're literally going to see how this works. And then you go put it out to customers, get feedback. And like when you're actually ready to like build it, like we'll take the next step, then we reapproach it. But like it really is that quick where it's just like, all right, just give us the basic features that you need. We'll build it in 3 days, get back to you, and you just you launch it,
Yeah, it could be. I think, we could talk, we can spend a whole hour talking about MVPs versus MLPs, minimum lovable
Yeah.
product versus like final products. I think people are getting less flexible on what MVP is, and I think people are expecting closer to finished products even on first go.
Yeah.
Um, People
That's
will
fair.
tolerate bugs more than they will. It just looks not. It's not the polish that they need, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where
Yeah.
when you think about code versus Bubble is like I can notice this is a app built on Bubble because like the little edges aren't as polished as just using code, and I think that is true with most, and it's just the founders' trade offs of willingness to feel that pain, and that's where I think internal tools like not maybe SaaS products
Hmm.
really can just not feel that pain. Like there's no trade off. It doesn't matter, right? If I'm
Yeah.
building an app for a church,
Yeah.
right? Like yeah, everyone's just happy to have an app to be organized.
Right. And I hope that like we eventually get to the point where it's like a Canva for your organization. Oh, 5 or 10 different people can get in there, share it, and just start building. Like that's your thing. Like your Canva, that type of like you need a little bit of like design sense, but like the framework is there. You can get in there, and it's like we're really well positioned to be like that kind of thing because it is so easy to use.
Hmm.
So I think there's a lot of ability there. I also think AI could also be huge for us, like everyone else, obviously, because we have all these blocks in place, and we can use AI to adjust them, add them, all that kind of stuff. We're one of the first ones to have the text to app generator kind of thing, and I
Hmm.
think there's a lot that we can do with AI that we can just continue to leverage in that way of just
Yeah,
maybe eventually just do everything from text to prompt within your editor kind of thing. And then
we're
whenever you
gonna
need,
see Bubble's coming out with one. We'll see their text to AI
yeah,
page builder. I don't know.
I'm sure it's gonna be good. I'm sure it's gonna be like almost like create your own templates kind of thing. I'm really interested in like the designs that they're choosing for it because they've never really been good with designs
They've
in
been pretty
general.
awful, actually.
Yeah, and UI has never been their thing. So interested to see like the quality of the designs because I mean that's what it's all about. If you're gonna have text to UI, the UI needs to be good. I'm sure you'll
Yeah,
get it'll probably be something like fast forward of like here are all the layouts you need. Now you need to go and adjust every element to actually make it look good, at
yeah,
least for the first version.
yeah. I think there's going to be adjustment, but
Yeah,
I
that's
like
still a benefit. That's still an improvement,
design.
right?
Just give me the Figma, I'll copy it in, and we'll start from there. I think that's a good thing.
I love what they're doing there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great way to go too. So
yeah.
yeah,
So why don't we wrap it up? Congratulations. Any
thank
last
you.
words
No,
before we
I
wrap
just
it?
say that I'm super happy there. If anyone needs, guidance, wants to do any kind of collaborations or any events or anything with Softr, let me know. Like that's my job now, and it's so cool to say that. But at the same time, like I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm still gonna be here. I'm still gonna be building. We're still friends, all that kind of stuff. So I hope to keep doing what I've been doing. Some things a little bit more hands off, like our studio. You're gonna be running that. I'm a silent partner now. The education, it probably going to take me a little bit longer to get back to your comments if you leave comments, but I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to leave you hanging. So all that kind of stuff, I'll still be there. But otherwise, I hope that this new role helps me make an even bigger impact in the industry, which in result helps you all find more, find success in whatever it is, whether it's your personal lives, your careers, the businesses you're building, all that kind of stuff. So I hope it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. Well, congrats, and I guess on that, we'll see you next week in No Code.
We
See
will see you next week in No Code Fam. See you guys.
you later.